Another week of testimony in the corruption trial against former Illinois House Speaker Michael Madigan and co-defendant Mike McLean. Jim Talamonti, reporter for the Center Square up in Chicago, has been in court all week long, and he's got the latest for us. Jim, obviously, it looks like here we are, week 3 of testimony? But clearly, we're expecting a lot more testimony. Another busy week here. Good morning.
Eddie Acevedo, former state rep. We thought we were going to hear from Elena Hampton this week, former campaign staffer who made a sexual harassment allegation. That did not come to pass. We don't know when or if she will testify. We also don't know if State Rep Bob Rita will return. He testified for about 10 minutes 2 weeks ago at the end of an afternoon, did not come back the next day. So we haven't heard what's happening there. But one of the big ones is going to be Danny Solis. There are going to be fireworks with his history here. That'll be something a little different that wasn't happening in the ComEd 4 case. Yesterday, we had a full day, a lot of recordings and a lot of emails shared. Again, a lot of this was part of the ComEd 4 bribery case, but now with more, with Madigan in the courtroom and with that happening, so a lot of stuff being laid out. We'll get cross-examination of former ComEd executive Fidel Marquez. We thought that might start yesterday, didn't. So that's coming Tuesday, and there should be, when he went through cross in the ComEd 4 case, there were some fireworks with Patrick Cotter, who's Mike McLean's lead defense attorney. And then now you have the Madigan team, who's going to be, you can just see they're licking their chops to get to him. So a lot of interesting stuff to come, but yes, a lot of stuff, period. Judges saying, his math is showing this looks more like 13 weeks instead of 11. During jury selection, the estimate was 10 weeks. So we keep, as most of us covering this have thought, this is going to be longer than initially projected. And the judge said, well, at some point we have to tell jurors so they're not making holiday flights and that kind of thing. So a long way to go here with this.
Obviously, we're approaching the holidays. Thanksgiving's just around the corner, let alone Veterans Day on Monday with no court. Then you got the Christmas holiday and New Year's. So do you anticipate that this thing's going to go into the new year?
I think mid-January, and again, these estimates don't include deliberations, which we're thinking, with 23 counts, that's probably a week. So I can't see it ending unless something strange happens or unexpected, some kind of abrupt end. I can't see this ending before mid-January. It's just there's too much. It's taking too long to get through some of these witnesses. And
and then also all the recordings that there have been, including undercover video recordings. Jim, I'm going to play a few things here. It's about a minute long, so bear with me. You might not hear this down the line, but I'll re-encapsulate for you. You already heard it in the court. But what's fascinating about this video is it's Fidel Marquez, one of the prosecutor's cooperating witnesses, wearing an undercover video recording device for the prosecution, for the federal investigators. And he even, in conversations he's had previously with others, like I believe... was it Doherty that he had conversations with?
Jay Doherty, yep.
Talking about how, I've got to try to make sense to the guys up at the top of ComEd about why we're going to be hiring these people. What are they going to be doing for this money? And, the ComEd 4 defendant who was found guilty, ultimately, he said, well, nothing. I mean, this is just a favor for Mike Madigan. And then it has Marquez going to a meeting with a top ComEd executive and McLean trying to make the case for why they should hire certain people. And I do want to play some of this because it's kind of revealing. And what's revealing about this, some of this, Jim, was aired during the ComEd 4 trial. But what's fascinating is I compared the video of them meeting with the CEO of the ComEd with what they released during the ComEd 4 trial. And the first little bit here where they name Mike Madigan was not part of the ComEd 4 video they released. Thought that was kind of fascinating, at least from my initial comparison between the evidence that's been presented in ComEd 4 versus the evidence that's now being presented in the Madigan trial. So here's a little bit of that undercover video.
The history with Madigan is even in the when Lee Daniels was speaker, we had a bill that we wanted heard, and Lee wanted no part of it. And even then, Madigan grabbed the bill when he got to name people to be meter readers, right? I mean, it's the old-fashioned patronage system, and ComEd played it like
like it should.
You're a ward committeeman, and we have 7 meter readers in your ward, and you can name 4 of them. And that's just the way ComEd was for years, and then so that's just what we've always done for, good Lord, over 20 years now, because we can't really do meter readers. We don't have them anymore. We don't have linemen. There's no one from the 13th ward linemen. So
it's like the lobbying team itself. There are at periods of time where people are saying, "The hell are these guys doing? Why are we paying them?"
Right.
And then they will do something in the magic moment.
That's worth
between
that's worth 100 times what you're paying them.
Right. And so that's.
So clearly, Jim, you may not have heard that, but it had McLean talking about doing this for Madigan, and how even when he wasn't speaker, he would go and grab a ComEd bill, and then they would kind of do the old-fashioned patronage thing, right? But they don't have meter readers anymore. They just have these politically connected people that are going to do nothing for the utility to get the exchange of money. Pretty incredible and impactful evidence, not just testimony for the jury.
It's really juicy stuff. I mean, you hear this, and I've had people tell me you've listened to recordings what we've had on the Center Square, and that you've posted there, and they say, well, this is it. Well, wait a minute. Is this quid pro quo, or is this just ComEd doing favors for Madigan to gain favor? Is this really an exchange? And so that's been the defense's argument. Also, we'll see some separation here between Madigan and McLean, where the Madigan team will say, well, this is McLean acting to please Madigan, but it's not really. You're not hearing direct orders from Madigan in most cases. So it's going to be very interesting. All it takes is one juror, as we saw in the AT&T case, to as much success as prosecutors have had over the last few years with some of these corruption cases. And the lead prosecutor here with the Marquez line of questioning, Amar Bacho, I mean, he's a machine. He just and of course he did this in the ComEd case, but there also, as you said, Gur, there's been nuance here now with the inclusion of Madigan and with more focus on Madigan, our friend. In a slew of emails yesterday presented where it's our friend or himself with H capitalized, as if this were the Lord Almighty. I mean, it's just, so he's God of the 13th Ward and the Democratic Party of Illinois and the Illinois House. And in any kind of dealing with ComEd, everyone drops everything to please Mr. Speaker.
It's pretty incredible. Obviously, you'll still be in court next week, starting Tuesday, but you got today off from court, so it's good to kind of kick back a bit and process everything you've been hearing and seeing and reading. First-hand account here of you being in the courtroom in Chicago. Also interesting, you've been able to get a few words out of Madigan and McLean the past few days as they were walking in. He kind of gave you those Madigan eyes that I've seen here down in Springfield from time to time when I was covering it for him when he was the Speaker of the House. What's that like to see him walk in with a big smile on his face, waving and saying good morning?
Yeah, it's interesting because you said one day I got that evil glare, and but I don't think he knows. He doesn't know me as he does you, Greg, from your questioning and your tough questions of him that many reporters don't ask. But then now he's seen me, and a lot of days I'm the only one out there taking videos. So this guy, other than the TV stations were out there for the first day of jury selection, but they're not. So the Center Square is the only place you're seeing this, and so they see me every day now. So Madigan. Yesterday he was running a little behind, and he's a creature of habit. So instead of getting there about 8:20, it was closer at 8:30. So you could see he wanted to get in there. So there was a quick acknowledgement, but not the cheery Madigan that we saw the previous couple of days. And one day he said, "Good to see you," which was I was kind of shocked by that. And even McLean now, though, I get the wave and the little smile, almost as if they're doing the presidential wave when. Nobody's out there. They're not waving to anyone when they're getting on the plane, right? So similar kind of thing. They're only waving to me, really. But whereas the prosecutors were very unassuming, Bachu will kind of nod, but just goes into does his business. It gets into that courthouse. But Madigan always surrounded by several of his defense attorneys. And yesterday, a little bit late, Todd Pugh was the only one with him. But usually, he's got 3 or 4 of his, 5 leading attorneys at his table. And so he's always surrounded, usually by at least 2 or 3 of them.
Pretty incredible stuff. Obviously, we'll hear more about this. People can get the latest at thecentersquare.com. Jim Talamonti with those reports. You're fantastic. Thank you for your endurance. Just to give people an understanding, okay? So Tuesday morning, jury didn't have to come in until late because it was election day. So Jim was getting to the court about 10:30, gets to the court 11 o'clock. Because it's election day, we're in the radio business, Jim. We got to provide coverage to our statewide affiliation with Illinois Radio Network, the election night coverage. So you're able to jump in and help with that. So I appreciate you putting in that nice 13, 14-hour day on Tuesday.
Well, this ties together, Greg. I know there were people leaving the courthouse who were all excited about the election, and they asked what we were all doing, and we said we're covering the Madigans. Oh, we're more worried about the election. I just wanted to scream, this is all connected. When you look at the Madigan machine, to think that when you think of all the redistricting and all of these things that were going on in the machine
money,
that he built, and the
he talked with
the
Ann
money.
Pramaggiore about or McLean saying, hey, he got all this money from big dollar donors and he stuffed it into these downstate Democrat districts like Jay Hoffman. He never is able to raise $400,000. It's pretty remarkable stuff. So we'll be watching this closely. Jim Talamonti, thecentersquare.com. Greatly appreciate it.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, so it's another week down in the Madigan trial, and obviously something we'll keep people posted on what's going on. So be sure to get the newsletter at thecentersquare.com.